Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we deliberate on the issues before us, we trust that we will reflect positively on the communities we serve. Let us all seek to be effective and just so that, with courage, vision and energy, we provide positive leadership in a spirit of harmony and compassion.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Item number 3 on the agenda is apologies. We have apologies for lateness from Councillor Elliott. I'm not aware of any other that have been given to the meeting. I'm just looking at DEM services. There's been nothing else that's come through. No. So if that's just been noted. Declarations of interest, item number 4. No elected members have raised any. A quick scan around the room. Can't see anyone indicating anything. So I'm going to move to item number 5, which is public speaking time for items relating to the agenda. Tanika, did we have anyone that put their name down for public speaking? There is none. All right. Item number 6A, public speaking time responses. There is none. 6B, any leave of absence? No. Item 6C, matters of an urgent nature. There's none that I've been made aware of. And so I'm going to move to item number 7, which is updates, and welcome Zeal and Tanya, I think, and Claire to the table to walk us through what they've been up to. So welcome, good morning.
Morena koutou. Today we'll hear from Zeal, who will give an update on their activities. This update is a response from an earlier council meeting where Zeal reported back along with council on its contract, year 4 and 5 contract. And at that meeting, a motion was passed to work with Zeal on working more closely with Zeal to monitor their outcomes in Otaki, along with just touching base with them on their sustainable income plan. So today you'll hear from Zeal and a quick update around those things. We have Hamish Campbell, who will present along with Jesse Boyce, who is the CEO and is connecting to us through Zoom. Kia ora koutou.
Welcome up, Hamish, and Jesse, who's online. Welcome via Zoom. Over to you, Hamish.
Both here this morning. I'm just going to come and pass out these reports.
You feel free to jump into it, Hamish.
As Tanya said, we were asked just to report back on a few areas of our last report that we felt that we needed to put a bit more energy into. And so, I wanted to begin by talking about our presence in Otaki. We feel that we have done quite a bit of work in this area. And we're really committed to the community of Otaki, and we're really committed to the rangatahi and Otaki as well. A part of our, our planning, and whenever we're talking about what we're doing in particular seasons, we're always trying to prioritise time for Otaki, and especially around community events, things that are taking place that are going to add value in that community. This year we tried really hard to say yes to a few things, which were really valuable for us. There was the Kite Festival that Otaki ran, and it was an incredible success, I believe. And our part in that was to have our stage trailer there and to provide sound and a space for musicians to play. And we've already agreed to be a part of that next year as well. We were down to help run and be a big part of running the Children's Day that was going to happen but unfortunately that was cancelled due to COVID. But again, it's something that we would prioritise for next year. I've reached out to several organisations in Otaki myself, been and kind of, I guess, connected with organisations like Māori Lands. We've had talks with Otaki Yard about how we can possibly be involved there. We've had discussions with Otaki Library about some of the issues that are taking place up there, and whether there's a way that we can have an impact within that space. There's the Otaki Community Networking Forum, which I personally haven't been to, but some of my staff have been to. We've had conversations with the Hub Church, as well as Te Puna Oranga or Otaki, which is a really exciting organisation, and the things that they're doing in Otaki is pretty incredible. And so we've just talked about how we can possibly work together and just increase the value for rangatahi in the area. I guess as we talk about Otaki, it's really important to acknowledge that there are some incredibly gifted people and organisations that are already doing incredible things there. And so for us, as we talk about Otaki and think about how we engage with that community, it's just really important for us that we're not stepping on toes, or that we're not moving into the space and just recreating something that's already there. I guess our approach to this is to be mindful of the community and what there already is, and our posture towards Otaki needs to be one of serving. So trying to serve those organisations that are already doing amazing work, but also finding where is our fit in Otaki, and what are the ways that we can best support rangatahi there in a way that reconnects them to their community, but also empowers local leadership in that community as well, so that we're not just walking in, doing something and then leaving, but we're building people up in that space to carry on really good work. We're constantly looking for ways to, chasing funding for ways to run programs and create spaces where we're directly working with young people in that space. Our relationship with Otaki College is amazing. Andy Fraser is incredibly supportive and is constantly inviting us into their space. We've supported them for their sports days, their Otaki SS Otaki service. We're frequently there during lunch times. And actually just this week we were there, and one of the staff members said that they noticed a tangible difference in the vibe at lunchtimes when we were around, which was really encouraging for us. We're also looking to run Zeal runs an after-school program Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, and we're actually talking with Otaki College about shifting one of those days to Otaki College to create a space for young people to have more connection with us, but a safe place to be, and a place where we can engage them in their gifts and their talents, and encourage them to be all they can be. And as we, I guess the reason for doing that is to just judge, what's the need in the area, to see how that goes, and then as capacity grows and our possibly our staffing grows, then we could add more days to that as well. We'd like to eventually find a more neutral location than the college, just so that other young people as it might be a barrier for other young people to come into that space. We've also just recently completed our Toi Rangatahi project in Otaki. So that's been a long-running project for us. It's been interrupted several times through COVID, but we've at the end of last year we managed to get the first intake of students through the course, and they were able to put on a really amazing event in Otaki at the Memorial Hall. It was really well lots of people came, and they had a really good time. There was lots of positive feedback. The young people who were engaged in that project loved the experience, felt that they really developed some of their own personal skills through that. And I think what they loved the most was that they were able to do something for their community and provide a safe space for their community just to have some fun. Term 1 of this year was our second intake for that course, and that group of students was primarily they were all from Otaki College, and they ran 2 events, a smaller event within the college and then a larger event in the community. And that larger event took place on the 1st of May. And our young people, again, they worked their butts off to pull those events off, and a lot of them were juggling a lot of responsibilities, not just within their school but also within their family life. And I think there was an incredible amount of satisfaction from them when they got that event across the line and saw how people engaged with it. They would say, hand on heart, they know that there were some balls that were dropped in that space, but that's the nature of working with young people and trying to allow them to take ownership of it and not overtake the process. So, but yeah, all in all, their takeaway from it was that they could see, through their own agency, they could really make a difference in the community and run things that benefited the community. The second, part of this report is around our relationships with Local Ewe. And I just want to say that, for us, we recognise just how important it is for us to have multi-voices in our space. And we also acknowledge that this is an area where we do struggle, but it's also it's also an area where we're completely committed to making inroads. And a part of that for us was at the start of this year, we sent out invitations to all Local Iwi to come into our centre to have a look around and learn about us and what our kaupapa is, and see if there was any way that we could work together and do things in the future. We had a really awesome visit from Helmut Modlik, who is who is Ngāti Toa, and it was really awesome. Our whole staff got to meet with him. He asked us some pretty intense questions, and he was very interested in rangatahi, what issues we're facing them, and also wanting to learn as well. I think we left both acknowledging that there's plenty of work to be done, and they were excited about what we're doing, and they were excited about the possibility of being able to connect with us in the future, which is really cool. We've had feedback from Te Atiawa about wanting in the future to connect and work on things together, and we haven't been able to have any sort of conversations with Ngāti Raukawa as yet, but we'll continue to push into that space and look for any possible connections and bridges into that space. And so for us, this is definitely it's a priority, but we know that it's also one that we need to take our time over and do it appropriately. The last part was around our sustainable income plan, and so we were also asked to present a strategic plan for our years 7 to 9 for Zeal Kāpiti. So this is kind of being rolled into one. So in front of you, we have our strategic plan on a page for 2021 to 2024. I'll just read out the statements at the top. Our vision as Zeal is that all young people in Aotearoa living full lives of meaning and purpose. The challenge for us: all young people have mana, innate authority and power, but many struggle with disconnection from their sense of self-worth, identity and belonging. And so our mission to make transformative spaces and experiences accessible to all young people in Aotearoa, supporting young people to reconnect to their mana, innate self-worth and a sense of belonging. So we've got, some high-level goals on this page as an organisation. Goal 1, to deliver a high-impact work program. Goal 2, to empower a strong staff, team and culture. Goal 3, to operate from a strong sustainability model. And Goal 4, to be a sector-leading youth organisation. As a broad overview, from where we are now in 2021, we feel that with our staffing levels and the capacity that we're running at, what we're able to engage with and offer, I do feel like we're maxing that out, and we're continually trying new things and continually trying to find ways to work smarter with what we have. We've got currently programs taking place within our centre that we know are helping young people develop skills, and they're helping young people to identify within themselves a lot of value and self-worth. But we know that there's more that we can do. Ultimately, Zeal's ceiling, the only ceiling that we really have is our people resource, and that can actually be a problem to find the right people at the right time to engage with young people in the right way. So it's not just about finding people with skills, but finding people who care about our young people as well. We have great relationships at the moment with Youth Council, Waikanae Lions, KYS, Te Kura, and local colleges. Our income picture at the moment is KCDC. We have grants that come through. Lions have been a big supporter of us, and there are other small places where income is achieved as well. Part of that is our stage trailer hire, our sound gear hire, and venue hire as well. At the moment, we sit on about 3.5 FTE to run our centre, which is challenging, but the staff that we have are amazing, and they put in 100% every day. Where we want to be in 2024 is quite different. We want to be able to double the programming that we offer and the ways that we connect with our young people. We want to have an increasing presence in Otaki, but in a way that is honouring and of value to that community. We want to move into a very sustainable sort of model of social enterprise. So at the moment we have sort of dabbled in the space a little bit with our coffee cart, but I guess it would be for us a long-term vision to have something that feeds back into Zeal, but also feeds back into the lives of our young people. We know that that work experience and gaining skills that actually translate into employability later on in life is really valuable. And so whatever we do, we'd love it to sit in that space of giving young people real world experience, but also, I guess, ultimately helping Zeal achieve its goals too. We want to see our venue in our centre utilised 100%. At minimum, like Monday to Saturday, having activity in that space. We are working with different groups at the moment that use our venue, and there are some that we hope will come online that will be long-term groups using our space to benefit young people in the community. There's a big list there. We want our collaboration with groups within Kāpiti to increase as well. We are looking at starting a program. What's the word? We want to connect with businesses. We want to connect with organisations that can help us. And I guess a big driver of that is around finance. But also we see that, the more that we can be connected to local businesses, the more that we can actually highlight the needs of young people to those businesses as well, and to local community groups, because they will have experience and opportunities that we can't give them, but we may be able to open their eyes to the skills and the talents that's actually available locally. So in terms of our income, in 2024, we see KCDC sitting around 60%. We want grants to be about 10%. Government contracts is one that we're pushing into at the moment. We see that being about 10%. Jesse is hard at work getting into as many boardrooms and in front of as many people as possible to tell Zeal's story and to chase sort of high net worth individuals who would love to fund the work that we're doing. And again, we will continue to push into our those little streams of income that we have through our stage trailer and gear hire and venue hire as well. And I guess our dream is that in 2024 we would have a staffing level of 7.5 FTE, and in part of that increase is we would love to see some staff members that are specifically entrenched in the Otaki community. So with that, my hope for that would be that there are youth workers on the ground, that they're relating to other organisations offering their service and help, being in the schools, mentoring young people, running creative programs or supporting creative programs for the community as well.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Hamish. I'm just conscious of time because we have sort of run for 15 or so minutes, but I want to give Jesse the opportunity just to see if there's anything he wants to say. But just mindful of time because we still need to offer time for elected members for questions. So, Jesse, is there anything you wanted to add?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And Hamish shared a pretty good overview of the organisation and the steer that we're taking over the next few years. Given that you're mindful of time, I will leave it to questions and open to leaving that space open. And if anyone has any high-level questions, then I'm available.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm going to just start it off with a couple of questions, and if elected members can just push their buttons and get lined up, that would be helpful. Hamish, look, I want to start by saying I know that Otaki wouldn't, it's not an easy ground to kind of break and get into. That's not unusual for any organisation. What's been interesting is we've been going through our long-term plan process at the moment. That means that we're touching on all different nodes of the community and topics and ideas and so forth. And I can just honestly say, as an elected member, the topic of youth has come up a lot, and what council is or isn't doing for youth in Otaki. When the original concept came up about Zeal in the building, I was no councillor at the time, I was an elected member, and so I challenged that, as I think I should do, around why there and not either in Otaki or closer to Otaki. And the feedback at the time from the councillor who was progressing that at the time was that that Otaki youth, through the feedback, had said that they wanted more events and things to do in Otaki rather than a physical space. And what's been interesting, even just last night, we had a young person from Otaki speak, and actually one of the things they raised was a physical space there in Otaki to hang out as well. So I'm curious as to what sort of either surveys or work that you've done trying to establish what is the desire of youth in Otaki, where are the gaps and things that they're looking to do or looking for people to do, maybe not necessarily Zeal.
Part of our Te Tahi project was to run a survey alongside that, and that was to both try and canvass community, so not just youth, but just general community as well. I think we probably hit mostly young people in that survey, but what comes through in that is there is still a sense that young people in Otaki want more things to do. They want events. They want things to engage with. I think through. So we've actually I didn't mention this, but we've just started this year bringing Otaki young people down to Zeal. Awesome lady in Otaki has volunteered her time to drive young people down every Tuesday, and the feedback that we have from them is that they love actually coming to our space and really enjoy, the difference that brings. But we've also talked to them about the idea of starting hangs in Otaki as well, and they're equally excited about that. Some of them weren't overly excited about the idea of it being at college, but as a starting point, I think they would be okay with that. But they did mention that another neutral space would be something that they would really appreciate.
Thank you. And I'm certainly not trying to undermine that initiative. It's interesting, some of the other feedback that we've got is that the young people there find it quite intimidating or a different culture down here in Parapara than what they're used to in Otaki as well. So there's, I appreciate that's a challenging space. I've got a couple of further questions, but I'm just going to move around to Councillor Buswell.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in today and updating. And it sounds like it's you've got a really progressive piece of work going on in Otaki to try and reconnect. You mentioned that you struggle to connect with iwi. Do you have those same kind of struggles elsewhere in the country? Maybe that's more of a question to Jessie, but I wondered if Otaki is different to the rest of the country and where you are established?
Yes, we have those challenges in varying degrees, dependent on region. So in Taranaki, we're a bit more progressed in our iwi relationships. And as an organisation, it's very much a steer for us in really understanding what serves our communities and the young people we're trying to serve best. Our goal is to engage with Māori in a way that's appropriate, and so that is by invitation, that is by gentle relationship over a period of time. So we get the sense that isn't something that we press on, but something that organically grows in the nature of te ao Māori. So a long answer to a short question, but we do have similar challenges, but very much our posture is to grow in this space for the sake of young people with Māori identity.
That's awesome. Thanks very much. We've just gone through our LTP submission process, and there has been quite a big call for a central hub in Otaki, particularly to potentially service community groups like yourself. Were you aware that there was that kind of talk within the community of putting something on like that?
In conversations I've had with Andy Fraser, principal of Otaki College, I know that he's very passionate about the idea that more resourcing in Otaki is needed, and possibly that might look like a venue of some description that can be a shared space for different organisations. And I would say that to me sounds like an amazing idea, so that there's not just not just one organisation holds that ground, but that it's a collaborative effort to make a difference in that space.
Have you had any interactions with Work Ready Kāpiti? And the reason why I say that is because you're setting up some different skill levels of our youth, which is really great, and they are a connection between youth and employment. And I'm just wondering whether there's a space there where you could have a employer meetup within your group and using your database to interact with local businesses.
Last year we had an employer meet at Zeal, which was awesome. We probably didn't get as many of our young people engaged in that as we would have liked, but it was amazing to have them in our space and to see what that process looked like. Yeah. And we're actually currently, the reason I'm here alone is because my team at the moment are working with a group of young people where we've just started a program called Konga, which is taking young people who are struggling at school and needing to figure out what's next for them. And a part of that is we're talking with Work Ready Kāpiti to include them in those Work Ready meets to upskill them with interview skills and just to see what expectations there are of them as employees. Yeah.
Councillor Hanford.
Kia ora, Hamish, and kia ora, Jessie. Thank you both for all the mahi you do. I've got a few questions. The first one around the ethnicity of the rangatahi or the young people coming through the doors. Are you able to provide a rough kind of ethnic breakdown of the majority of the young people? And yeah, obviously you're trying to focus on those rangatahi Māori, but I'm just wanting to get a picture of that on a more broad scale.
Yeah, we would ultimately have the majority of young people through our doors that are Pākehā. There's mixtures there, though, of course. That we have young people who would identify as Māori as well, but that wouldn't necessarily be like a really strong sort of part of their identity yet. And so it's and for us, we know there's probably barriers for rangatahi coming into Zeal, and we are acutely aware, I guess, of possibly our bias as well, and what that creates within the space at Zeal. And so for us, it's about just constantly talking about what we can do to improve our space and how we operate to accommodate different cultures. Yeah.
And just in terms of engaging rangatahi Māori and Otaki, have you had much to do with Te Ana Mata and or potentially partnering with the Otaki College head students or groups like Manakura GPS and those other groups that got funding through the Think Big grant scheme and potentially kind of co-designing things with them? Like, what does that relationship look like in terms of figuring out what kind of provision and support and programs would be useful for the young people in Otaki?
Both of those groups they're amazing, and the young people that are a part of them are incredible. We haven't met with them as groups, but I definitely have met with individuals from those groups. I have talked to Andy Fraser about future work with those groups. They're actually really busy as well. So it's kind of even though we have a desire to work with those young people, we still have to, I guess, respect the fact that they're students and they're trying to run these things on the side as well. So I guess our posture again is about saying, what can we do to help you as a group, rather than we don't want to come in and say help us, come and help us with this. It's more what can we help you do? But we haven't had as much to do with them as we would like, so that's definitely a space that we need to press into. Yeah.
Councillor McCann.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Taking nothing away from the great work you've done, one of the themes that we've had through the LTP process has been, it might be summed up by Otaki for Otaki. At what point would Zeal come to us and say, actually, the people of Otaki actually want to provide the service themselves? Is that something that your organisation could ever come to that conclusion, or would you keep pushing, trying to create it? And it's a difficult question, sorry.
I think that's the best way to answer that. I guess long term, it would be amazing if Zeal wasn't needed in Otaki. I've encountered people who are doing some incredible stuff in Otaki with the rangatahi, and like really high level stuff as well. But I guess currently right now, I definitely still see that there's a space for us to serve in Otaki, and I think the value that Zeal carries is that we're really good at creating safe spaces, creating spaces that essentially speak directly to a young person's mana, and I think that is still something very needed in the community. But then again, it's not about us coming in and saying we've got the answer, but it's saying what can we do in the community that adds value, and working as closely as possible with those other organisations, and yeah, I guess just offering the expertise and some of the resources that we have to them as well, and at the same time trying to build up that leadership and that knowledge base to do that work on their own. Yeah, but I think what would Zeal look like in Otaki is going to be very different to what Zeal looks like in Parapara-Umu, and I think I see it rather than, there possibly is that central hub at some point, but I do think before that happens, it's about weaving ourselves into the community a little bit more, and just figuring out where we can offer support where it's needed.
So could that potentially look like Zeal losing some of its identity to empower the communities within Otaki to be able to create their own space and their own way of doing things? Because I'm just conscious, when you've got a brand, and not just you, but most people, we push that brand because it's one way you can raise funds, etc. If that's looking like it might be, let's support other people or other parts of the community, is that something that Zeal's willing to be a part of?
100%. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, possibly it's even that's the better approach. Is like just, I don't know. Like Jesse might have a different opinion, but I don't see any issue with us being a little bit undercover. I think as long as if we were able to say hand on heart that we were helping and we were making a difference in Otaki, but it was without our brand, then personally I'm comfortable with that. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'll just go off the back of that, Hamish, as well. So for the first few years of our entry into Otaki, we served the community with no Zeal branding, just providing them support with offering resources of speakers and sound equipment and being present at events. I guess the posture of the organisation is that we're passionate about solving the problem or solving the challenge that young people have above our brand. Our desire is to do that in collaborations that provide the most impact. We see ourselves as having experience over 24 years that we think provide value to communities and building their infrastructures internally. So, yeah, that would be an answer to that. Just off the back of what Hamish said, our desire is to solve the challenge of young people reconnecting to those things that Hamish has mentioned.
Thanks, Jesse. I don't see any further questions from other elected members. I've just got a couple quick ones myself, and then we'll move on. The music box and the coffee cart, how often have those been up in Otaki in the last, say, 12 months?
The last 12 months, they've been... Well, the music box no longer exists.
Okay.
So we've replaced that with our stage trailer. So the stage trailer has been in Otaki over the last 12 months, at least 3 times that I can think of off the top of my head. Kite Festival, the Tuarangatahi project. I think there was another time for another event.
That's right.
The coffee cart is still in use. Otaki College uses it on a regular basis. At like minimum, it's in Otaki College at least once a year, but more likely it's there at least twice a year.
And the connection from those youth that go through, I appreciate, and you may not know, but my background is in coffee and so forth, but the youth may not go directly from that into a hospitality job that could give them the confidence to go into a completely different sector. But is there a connection between them and the likes of Work Ready? And the reason why I ask is because it's just always going jobs going in that industry. And yeah, it kind of puzzles me sometimes how we fail as a district to kind of fill that, given the need for jobs.
Yeah, we see. I mean, our barista program is like going off. We offer a course and it fills up. So we see that there's a huge need amongst young people for skills that make them more employable. So in regard to Otaki, and the program that we run, as long as Otaki College is wanting that, it's a 8-week barista course that teaches them the basics of the commercial coffee machine, but a part of that is work experience as well.
Yeah.
And local cafes, which is really cool.
And it sounds like the input's good. I guess I'm more questioning and not in a negative way, but the output in terms of those people leading into employment. And as I said, some of them may lead into an employment in retail rather than hospo. But like there's literally a job every week for a barista somewhere, like Riverstone Cafe, for example, constantly employing people, which is good. Good local employer as well. All right. So just trying to think, was there... I had one last question, which may be for staff, but I'll leave that, Tanya, up to you or Hamish if he decides to answer it. Just looking at the strategic plan, I can't remember the exact details of the contract, and I can see, obviously, from the current state to the future state that the funding or the income from KCDC is less. But if in the absence of a budget or even just a total figure for that particular 60% of 2 million can be more than 80% of 1 million. As an example. So our contribution could be the same or higher, even though the percentage is lower if the budget is increased. So you may want to come back to us offline about that, just in the interest of time, or if you want to,
Under the contract obligations, there is a reduction going forward.
That's what I thought. That's why I asked. Yeah. All right. I don't see any further questions from elected members. Hamish and Jesse online, thanks very much for joining us and presenting today. And I'm sure if any other elected members have got stuff they want to follow up on, they can touch base via email. So I appreciate you coming along.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jesse. Are you still up, Vince? All right, team. Next up, we have got the update for Cuppity Age Friendly. And so, Tanya, I'm just going to hand it over to you, and if you can just introduce it, and we'll go from there.
Yep. Hello, kia ora again. Just change places so that we can do a co-presentation with Grey Power. Just waiting for the presentation to appear.
Just while you're waiting for that, Councillor Halliday, have you got any input into this at the end in terms of from a portfolio perspective? And if so, I'll come to you at the end if there is.
Well, through you, Mr. Chair. Other than being supportive of everything that's going forward and being a part of the process, I'm just quite happy to let the presentation go through, and I'll just add a couple of things at the end.
Thanks, Councillor. And Mr. Mackay, I see that Dem Services have been over to you. Obviously, after this, we're just going to do a bit of an agenda reshuffle, and then we'll come to you next.
We're having some major issues. We're going to need to restart the system to try.
Okay.
We'll roll on, Tanika, without...
Yeah, could I just check, do you want to? Would you... I guess I've got two options. One is to take a break. 2 is to roll on without the presentation. The 3rd is to bring Mr. Mackay up for the ED one, but that will involve a bit of a reshuffle of the agenda to some degree. So do you...
What would you be your...
Okay, I think the best option by the sounds of it is a short break. So we're going to just take a break for 5 minutes, grab a toilet stop and a coffee, and then hopefully we can have the system restarted.